This is the Transparency Podcast Show.
Welcome to the Transparency Podcast Show. It's your girl, Blossom C. Brown here, and I'm here with my wonderful co-host here, Shane Ivan Nash. Shane, what's going on?
You know what? There is so much going on because we have taken a break, a good little summer break, and there is so much to talk about that I actually had to get notes.
Yes, and by the way, where's our button? Okay, there we go.
Oh, there we go. There we go.
We are the show with the sound effects. And P.S., today is my birthday.
Happy birthday.
Thank you. It's my 38th birthday, y'all. Just saying.
Everybody in the comments.
Honey, we got a lot to talk about because this summer has been insane. P. Diddy. A lot has happened since we last talked about P. Diddy.
Yes, it has.
What happened? Talk to us.
Well, where do you want to start? I mean, it's from Jaguar Wright to Justin Bieber to Orlando Brown to Ray J to Ali Carter to Liam Payne to JoJo Siwa and Beyonce. We've got so much to go through.
So, a lot of things happening. So, September 16th, many people know Sean P. Diddy Combs was arrested in New York City. And, child, he was charged with sex trafficking, racketeering conspiracy, and transportation to engage in prostitution. Now, for those of y'all that don't know, since 2008, he has been a part of a criminal organization that engaged in sex trafficking, forced labor, kidnapping, arson, bribery, obstruction of justice, and other offenses. Hashtag trigger warning. I should have probably said that before. Now, he's also been charged with RICO charges. And so...
Wait, what? Do you know what RICO is, just for the folks out there?
I do.
Okay, good. Because
I wrote it in my notes today.
I even had to look it up exactly what a RICO is because we have, the idea of what a RICO is, but this seems a little bit more serious than what folks are making it on the media, right?
Yeah. So RICO charges stands for Racketeering, Influence, and Corrupt Organizations Act. So it's basically targeted organized crimes. So usually people who are in the mafia get charged with this from what I'm understanding. But in P. Diddy's case, this is huge. And this is a mess, honey. What are your thoughts on this?
Let's first of all start with the fact that the Jaguar Wright situation, now a lot of her videos talks about conspiracy theory, right? So I want to be very clear on that. It's conspiracy, but it seems like a lot of the things that she has said seems to be coming true. And the thing is that she's been saying this for years. And I know she's had mental health issues associated with that. And a lot of people want to discredit her because of that. But at the same time, it's like where there's smoke, there's fire. There's got to be a little truth in some of that and the way that she connects things. So what have you seen on Jaguar Wright? Because it's been a lot from her, to be fair.
She's pretty consistent. I've listened to her videos over the years, and it does sound like a lot of conspiracy theories to me, but I also think there's a lot of truth in this as well, too. Because recently, Jaguar Wright went on Piers Morgan, and she talked a lot about what she needed to talk about. And it ended up with Beyonce and Jay-Z sending a cease and desist order to Piers Morgan. Yeah. And so Piers Morgan had to go on television and apologize for that. But I'm also understanding that I think that Beyonce and her lawyers or someone actually sent it to Jaguar afterwards, because a lot of people were wondering, why are they coming after Jaguar and not... why are they coming after Piers and not coming after Jaguar or whatnot? And for me, I've always looked at Jaguar Wright kind of as like a groupie or something, just somebody that kind of just follows along. But obviously, I think that she's been in these spaces and she knows a lot and she's just been saying a lot. And so I just find it really interesting that during the time of what's happening with P. Diddy, because Cat Williams predicted it. Let's just be clear. Cat Williams said what he said 100%. On that Shannon Sharp interview, and here we are.
At the beginning of the year, too, and it's like almost the end of the year, and it's definitely happening, so, yeah.
Oh, do we have new buttons?
I think we're hitting video buttons, too. I don't know what that was.
Oh, my gosh.
We got all kinds of programming here.
Just hit the arrows. There we go.
There we go.
See, this is a live show. This is how live we are. We don't edit these parts out.
No, and that's the beautiful thing about this podcast is we actually are like truly live. This is a true conversation with very little editing at all, if any, in most of these episodes. So, give us a little grace. We're doing the best we can. But we also want to give you the real chat of what it's like to be in a living room and have a conversation with us. There's just cameras here. But back to the Jaguar Wright situation. So looking at a lot of the stuff she said on Piers Morgan, I mean, she was saying she was a sex dominatrix, from my understanding.
What?
That's how she allegedly got this information. Yeah, I watched the whole Piers Morgan thing. We actually have the apology video. If we could play that, Solomon, real quick.
Piers Morgan has had to apologise to Beyonce and Jay-Z after a guest on his YouTube show made allegations that the couple said were totally false. Singer Jaguar Wright was invited on Uncensored to talk about Diddy's arrest and said she'd been screaming that Diddy and Jay-Z are monsters for 4 years. Piers Morgan said Beyonce and Jay-Z's lawyers contacted the show and asked for Jaguar's comments to be taken down, saying the claims have no basis in fact. Parts of the interview with her allegations have been edited out. Piers Morgan said, editing interviews is not something we do lightly. We apologise to Jay-Z and Beyonce.
Now, let's also be clear, too.
I want to apologize to Jay-Z and Beyonce, too, just in case, to keep it safe. I'm going to make sure we get our apologies.
But here's the thing, though, and people have been saying Piers Morgan don't just have anybody on his show. If he didn't think there was some truth to that, he would not have had her on the show. And so when I'm hearing people say that, it makes me think there really may be some truth to all of this. And for so long, she's been silenced. And people just didn't believe her. But now that this whole thing with Diddy has come out, it's like, we need to be listening. But I also follow a lot of bloggers who also engage in conspiracy theories about what's happening too. So it's really hard to catch up with it. But I was just reading that last week, 9 new accusers came forward. Including,
and the child, the 13-year-old, right?
I think it was either they were 16 or 14. But here's the thing. It was only one female and all males. And the only female plaintiff out of the 9 says that Combs wanted to speak to her privately at a Biggie Smalls promotional party back in 1995 before he actually slammed her head in the wall and SA'd her. And also, a New Jersey man, when he worked for security for Diddy, says that he claimed that when he was given alcohol drinks that were actually spiked. Before he was pushed into a van where Combs SA'd him. Sorry, I should have put a trigger warning on that as well, too. But the thing is, apparently for decades, this has been the behavior that he has been exuberating behind the scenes. And it, again, like I said one time before, it wasn't until Cassie's lawsuit that all of this opened up Pandora's box.
Yeah.
And so...
Well, I mean, speaking of Pandora's box, it's something that I actually found out, I think last night, is that Jamie Foxx is actually the one that opened Pandora's box.
Ooh, okay.
Initially, allegedly.
I'm still
trying to get clarification on this, but according to what I've just learned last night is that Jamie Foxx, remember when he had that stroke last year?
Yeah.
So remember when that whole
he was in the hospital for a while.
Like, what happened with Jamie Foxx? And it was very like murky and nobody really got any information on what was actually happening with Jamie Foxx. Apparently and allegedly, that's connected to the Diddy situation as well. Apparently, allegedly, Jamie Foxx was drugged by allegedly Diddy and then reported Diddy to the FBI, which started a lot of this, apparently. Again, I'm not fully clear on that one, but that's another rabbit hole that I've been kind of digging through right now just to see where that's going because I mean, I remember when that happened to Jamie Foxx, everybody, like, we really got no explanation on why or what. It was very like, what happened? Like, where did he go? And it was really serious to the point where he had tubes in him. Like, so whatever level of, drugs that he received probably could have killed him and might even caused him permanent damage because if you have a stroke, I mean, that can harm you for the rest of your life. But I mean, what do you even think about that with Jamie Foxx? And now there's also like, of course, Orlando Brown, which we have to talk about if we're going to talk about Jaguar Wright, which Orlando Brown to me is really interesting. I feel like for the longest time, Orlando was just like doing things to go viral, right? But with everything now coming to light with Diddy, is it feel like it's like some coded language where it's like, I don't know. This is just my own personal opinion on this one, just from what I've seen through the content, that it's almost like he can't tell his story, so he tells it in these cryptic ways and ways where it's like you got to read extra between the lines and then can't really say exactly what happened. What do you feel about Orlando Brown and all of this too?
Well, he was dealing with drug abuse from what I understand. I think it was crystal meth, if I'm not mistaken. And, sometimes when you're on these types of drugs, you go through like a psychosis or something.
Yeah.
But I go back and forth between wondering if it's true or not with him. Because he said a lot of interesting stuff over the years, even when he was like under the influence. Because I don't know if you saw the Dr. Phil episode that he was on that time. It was a mess. Just saying.
Yeah. But he's experienced a lot of abuse. I mean, there's photos of him. I forget what show it's on, but he's got like the panda eyes thing that they talk about, which only happens from like trigger warning, severe SA, which you can basically I've gone down a lot of rabbit holes as a TikTok kind of thing has done, and the panda eyes is basically when you've been assaulted so badly that it can actually like cause your eyes to actually fracture in a way where you get these dark circles. And you see photos of him, like I think he's maybe like 6, 7, 8, 9. I'm not sure the exact age. He's really young child actor. And this is when Orlando Brown was first on the scene because he started really, really, really young.
Right. I saw him on Family Matters. He was in like
I think it might have been Family Matters is when the I mean, you can look it up on TikTok right now. If you type in Orlando Brown and panda eyes, you'll see those clips and you'll be like, oh my God, like that's tragic. Now, again, these are all allegedlys, and I want to make sure that that's clear because we want to say that we're going down the rabbit holes, but we're going down the rabbit holes together. Just like Wendy Williams used to do. Why can't we have some fun going down these rabbit holes? I mean, it is Diddy, and that was her biggest nemesis, remember?
And by the way, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel, because I forgot to say that at the top of the show. So that way you'll know when we post new videos, by the way. So hit the subscribe button for us. Thanks. Okay. I just thought about that when we were doing it. I was like, I forgot to say that earlier. Let me make sure I say that.
Right. And just for more clarity, I want to make sure that we apologize to Beyonce and Jay-Z.
I don't know why he wants to apologize so much to Beyonce.
Did you not see the clip of JoJo Siwa and that she disappeared for a couple days?
Well, I did see a little bit of that, but that's just, we're going to be following this P. Diddy story quite a bit as more accusers come out.
Well, there's the Liam Payne connection too. So allegedly, Liam Payne just unfortunately had, an OD incident, right?
Yeah. So he was like one of the band members for One Direction, right?
Yeah.
I think he jumped off
I think it's not clear yet. I think they haven't actually fully released everything. But he was 31 years old. He's a young guy, and apparently he had, the 2C, the pink cocaine that they've been talking about.
It was drug rage, from what I understand.
Yeah.
Allegedly, he jumped off the balcony, I think, in Argentina.
I'm not sure exactly.
It was South America, I think. They were in South America. I think I read Argentina.
Something about where they were holding his passport due to drug use. There's a lot of murky things going on. There's stuff with the hotel that's kind of weird where they were keeping him in his room. There's all kinds of like information coming out about Liam Payne, but allegedly, another rabbit hole that I found is that Liam Payne might have been one of the star witnesses, prosecutor to the Diddy case.
What?
Yeah, so that's weird.
See, where's our... we gotta get back.
No, it gets even worse, right? So, did you hear about Abercrombie and Fitch, the former CEO?
Yeah, I was reading a little bit about that yesterday, but I didn't know what was going on. I'm like, what is up?
Okay.
The reckoning is happening, y'all.
The reckoning is happening, but here's another rabbit hole. Here's another allegedly, right?
Uh-huh.
So, it's the District of New York that is actually, that announced the whole situation with the CEO, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, people are alleging on TikTok that maybe Diddy is singing as well to the other people that were committing these crimes, because all of a sudden now the CEO of Abercrombie is going down for sex trafficking, etc., for drugging of men, bringing them to their house and making the casting couch, like the model's casting couch was with, promises. What do you think about? Because it just seems like after this Diddy situation, it just keeps like unfolding more and more and more.
And that's what's going to happen. More people going to come out. People are going to be exposed. As Cat Williams says, lies. Oh Oh my God. Oh my God.
Yes.
Yes. Lies will be exposed this year.
Yeah.
Lies will be exposed this year. And we're going to hear more celebrities
I
being
know.
thrown into the mix. I've heard Mary J. Blige already,
Mhm.
Young Miami, J-Lo. Now that I remember in 1999, because I was like I was actually 13. I remember when Nat folded out live, and just thinking about some of the witnesses to P. Diddy's crimes or whatever, I kind of think she was kind of a victim as well too.
Yeah.
And probably was.
There's a nuance there, you know.
Allegedly. This is just my opinion, allegedly. But I was never thinking about this yesterday. I was like, I wonder if J-Lo was doing a lot of things against her will the same way Cassie was. Because Cassie talked a lot in her lawsuit about having to have sex with male prostitutes, having to be forced to take drugs. Y'all heard about the 1,000 lubes that they found that was actually laced with GHB from what it's been told. Baby oil situation. Yeah. There's a lot of funnies about it, but here at the Transparency Podcast Show, we don't find it funny. But it's so much happening right now. It's just kind of like ridiculous. It's ridiculous. I had no idea that Liam could possibly be connected to that. I just thought they were just two different stories.
Yeah.
And I was just like, oh my God, this is so tragic. Because the way I understood it was he was having a drug fit rage. Yeah. And he just wanted to end it. But Hollywood, honestly, is about to be shaken up. I've heard conversations about how the culture is changing, especially in hip hop and music or whatnot, because a lot more people are going down. Suge Knight had a lot to say about it. Suge Knight told him not to squat, told him you better squat. He told him you better squat. Where's our favorite button? We haven't had our favorite button in
This episode is brought to you by Kitcaster. Kitcaster books you on top podcasts. How do funded startup founders attract prospects and talent? Podcast interviews. How do entrepreneurs with exits find new deals? Podcast interviews. How do C-suite execs differentiate in crowded markets? Podcast interviews. Kitcaster books you on top podcasts. Click the link in the show notes for a special offer. Celebrate good conversation.
Oh, I'm not sure. Not that one. That's when we drop bombs.
Bruh.
There it is. And then have you heard about the whole Allie Carter situation too? Now Allie Carter is one of the alleged victims. Now she's made a lot of accounts on TikTok and they get taken down again. It's another rabbit hole. It's another allegedly. Ooh. But she talks about, like how children are being trafficked into the Diddy parties and that there's these tunnels and all of these things. Now, again, these are what are on TikTok. So we're just kind of going down the rabbit hole together because I wanted to do my research to see how the web connects and all. But another thing,
you're very researchative, me, investigative.
Gotta get facts, not
Where
feelings,
in the world
right?
is Shane Ivan Nash?
Listen, facts, not feelings, right? Facts, not feelings. But one thing I do want to mention is two things. Well, there's Justin Bieber in this too, right? Now, remember Leave Britney Alone? I want to start a new trend. Leave Justin Bieber alone. Yeah. For real. Because
Kara, shout out to Kara. I love Kara to death.
Right. But let's start Leave Justin Bieber alone. Because truly, if Justin Bieber has not come out as a survivor and they're not ready to come out, or maybe it didn't happen, like we can speculate on the Yummy video, which we can dissect that video all day, which is super creepy, to be honest. And it could have been subliminal messages. But I think until Justin Bieber actually initially comes out, we should respect that space for him. Because as someone who's definitely felt what it's like to be a survivor of male SA, there's a different layer that comes with it. There's a different layer of shame that comes with being a male survivor of SA. And if you're not ready to come out, which even in my situation, I was kind of forced out. Like I didn't even really want to talk about my situation, but it ended up kind of happening in the way that it did. And I'm glad in the long run that it did because we got some laws changed, but still I wasn't fully ready for that to come out. And I wish I had a little bit more time. And I think that we should give Justin some grace in that space and not make these speculative videos until he's ready to come out, if it did happen to him. So, leave Justin Bieber alone, for real. Like, leave him alone. You don't know what happened. We can speculate all darn day, but I think if he has been through what he's been through and he survived it and he's still got a beautiful voice and still, like, he protects Billie Eilish, like, there's a whole layer to him. But I just think that it's important for us to send that message, because you could be destroying his mental health further, and we don't want to push him down a road that he doesn't need to be on.
Yeah, I agree. That's a wonderful message, and that's a good segue into what's next. I'm excited about this. Let's talk about the presidential debate with Donald Trump and Kamala Harris.
Oh my God. Can we, Solomon, can you get that balloon popping ad up when you get a chance? And let me know when it's
Shane
ready?
came really prepared.
Oh, I came very prepared, because it's the Kamala Harris balloon popping ad that just came out. Now, we have to acknowledge Kamala's HQ, who has taken over the social media. Listen, I am actually proud of the Democrats. I am so proud of them actually understanding that we can't create this like softball pitches anymore, because we're actually truly losing our rights. And we can't sit here and debate Nazis and somehow like make the situation that somehow it equates to each other to equal rights, and making this casual conversations out of very serious things. So what do you think about all this?
I have a lot to say. First of all, Kamala Harris is my birthday twin. We have the same birthday, by the way. I just want to make that very clear. My dad has the same birthday as President Obama. So
royalty in the family. Okay.
And my mom has the same birthday as Marsha P. Johnson.
Damn.
Yeah. I don't think I ever told you that.
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Here's the thing. I have a lot to say about this. I want to talk about what happened, what we saw on television, and then I want to talk about the trans experience around it, because I have a lot to say about that too. Now, I watched that debate. I sat there and watched it twice, actually. I think Kamala Harris did a wonderful job. I think Donald Trump could not handle her. I thought the funniest thing that he said was, they're eating the pets. They're coming into this country. Biden and Kamala are letting them come in. They're eating the dogs. They're eating the pets.
The TikTok sound that somebody remixed it and be like, they're eating the pets.
I saw that. I listened to it. Oh my God. It was so funny. But the thing is, he was referring to Haitians.
Yes. Legal Haitians, citizens, Americans. Let's actually be right. American citizens.
Yes.
That's who he's referring to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think Kamala brought up like a lot of things. She talked about the things that Donald Trump did not get passed. She talked about his criminal record. Let's be clear. He has 34 felony convictions.
With assaults attached to that.
Exactly. And this is no disrespect to anybody who is a convicted felon who has been rehabilitated. I want to make that very clear, because I think sometimes, when we talk about Donald Trump's convictions or whatnot, it's almost like we're throwing a jab at people who have been convicted felons. You know what I mean? They've done their crime, they've done their time, and they're out being better people. I think sometimes for them, it feels like a jab at them when we talk about that. And so that's why I always want to be a little bit more distinguished when I say we're not talking about rehabilitated, like people who have experienced that. We're not talking about that.
Remorse and have done the work and the community service behind it. Of course not. Not
exactly. Exactly. And there were a lot of cool points there. It was pretty funny to me, to be quite honest with you. I think for me, the part about abortion is something that's really big for me. In the debate that I just participated in, some of y'all, I'm quite sure a lot of y'all saw the importance of including non-binary people as well as trans men in the conversation around reproductive rights, because that's a very nuanced conversation. Yeah. And just because you include non-binary people and trans masculine people, or anyone who is able to give birth in a conversation, it doesn't mean we're erasing cis women out of that conversation.
We're just adding more people to the conversation. I never understood. We're not taking anything away. We're just adding more conversation, more words, more descriptors.
Pulling more seats to the table so we can have the discussion. But of course, in mainstream politics, cis women are going to always be named first. And I just want to encourage liberals especially to just be more inclusive, because there are more groups of people that this affects. Yeah. And I just think that Donald Trump was just saying that, they're supporting abortion in the 9th month, which is ridiculous. I think that is so
or
harmful.
after, like,
because he's able to radicalize his base behind that.
Exactly. Behind false allegations of how abortion, when what's really happening is like what happened in Texas, where the woman, she needed health care. She needed to get that removed properly because she did take the medication, I believe it was Plan B, and it didn't turn out right.
Yeah.
She basically had a complication. Parts were still in her. And because she didn't have access to health care, she went septic and died, which is a procedure that could have been an hour, maybe 2 hours. The doctors go in and clean up her situation so that she could actually function, live. And now she's no longer with us just because of these draconian Trump laws that were placed in by our Supreme Court.
It is these laws that are being put in place that is harming a lot of these women. It's like you have to go hundreds and hundreds of miles away to go to a place where doctors won't be arrested for giving that kind of care. You know what I mean? And women's lives are at stake. And I love that that's been Kamala's talking point, because there was a town hall she did with Oprah Winfrey. And I think the family of that girl actually was there. And that was the first time I heard that story. Yeah. And I also heard a story, I can't think of her name, cute white woman, talked about being a survivor. I think she's a survivor of RAPE. I think it was her father.
The father, and she was 12 and pregnant. Yes. Had to carry. Oh.
Her story was so powerful. I encourage y'all to go look at that town hall because it brought tears to my eyes and it just really got me thinking. Now, there's another part of this I want to talk about, and that's with the trans community, because a lot of my trans siblings are not going to like what I have to say.
Uh-oh.
And, it's shocking.
Uh-oh, let's turn the mic up. Let's make sure you give them a good clip viral so they can find it.
Jeez. Y'all, we have not. Okay. That's our button.
There it is. It's 3 at the top, all right?
3 at the top. We got you.
All right.
So here's the thing. When it comes to trans people, it's a very nuanced conversation because our rights are on the line regardless. And it is important for we as trans and non-binary folks to show up at the polls.
Yeah.
Now, I understand Kamala has a painful history with the trans community, especially here in California. I'm not going to dismiss that at all.
She even kind of avoided a conversation just a few days ago when she was asked. So she was very indirect when they asked.
Was it the interview with the woman?
Yeah.
And see, I disagree with that. I'm the one, I disagree with that because the thing is, number one, Kamala does not live the trans experience, number one.
I think she's trying to play it smart politically, and
I agree.
I get it.
Yeah.
I get it, but it hurt to see it that way.
Yeah.
To see it framed that way, to pull back support, it felt like a little bit, but she also didn't actually pull back support. It's almost like she used her law degree to speak in law speak. You know, like she wasn't speaking in the common man in that moment. And I think that's probably why a lot of people might feel slighted by that too, because it wasn't like a direct, like, yes, I support trans people. It was like, well, I agree with what the law says. And I think that she's now playing the angle that is actually trying to speak to the other side more instead of our side. And that's kind of where she's at. And it feels to me that it's successful in how she's positioning herself. But at the same time, I can see how a lot of trans people would like a more direct message. Yeah. And what I'm hoping is that when she does get into office, she's going to be able to do that, because we have to be real with it. The patriarchy still exists. Yeah. She still has to play certain games and certain things that no male counterpart has ever had to play when they were running for a presidential election in the history of presidents. There's been 50 men that have run this country, and she is basically about to inherit practically a glass cliff while she's breaking a glass ceiling simultaneously, because there's a lot of issues with this country. Yeah. But at the same time, I feel like for a woman to take that role, you know what? Women run households. Women are like some of the most powerful people that I have ever come in contact. If you're looking at a lot of the success and the empowerment, like Mother Karina, my wife, many powerful women were there for me and supported me, and in spaces that even I was abandoned by a lot of male cis counterparts. So I think she is the most qualified president. Now, is she perfect? There's no such thing as a perfect presidential candidate. If you've got one, show it to me, because I'm sure that person is fictional and is an AI model, because I've never seen a candidate that has every single thing. But that's not what we're here to vote for. We're here to vote for the most qualified for the role. Yeah. And right now, somebody that's got rape allegations in court documents, that's got, you know, an economic plan to create tariffs at 2,000%, which would literally crash our economy. Yes, I'm a trans person who actually understands the statistics. I'm not just here because I want to get trans rights. I'm tired of my community 1% being used as a distraction when we should actually be focusing more on the economy and the infrastructure as a whole.
Well, this is the thing. I appreciate your talking point earlier or whatnot, because I don't think I thought that talking point I had out thoroughly. So I appreciate that. But let's also be clear of this system that is put into place. Let's be clear. This system has never been made for Black, brown, indigenous, women, LGBTQ plus people. This system has been broken for so long because this country was ran by white cis men.
100%.
And so the thing is, Kamala could only do so much as vice president, okay? A lot of these things happen under Joe Biden's administration.
Yes.
And she has made it very clear that there are some things she's not going to carry over into her administration. I think it's really important that she has trans representation in her administration, because they could be there to coach her, to educate her. And I also think it's important that trans people who are running for office now, we need to be out supporting them.
Yeah.
We need to be voting these people in office. Here in California, there is no trans representation at the state legislation level here.
Yeah.
But there have been trans candidates that have run. Lisa Middleton is a person who I love so much and is running now. We need to be supporting our trans candidates. For me, this whole election around trans people I'm actually tired of trans people being used as a political pawn in this game. I think Donald Trump and Kamala Harris have done that. But at the same time, gender affirming care is a political issue in the trans community that affects a lot of us. There are people in states where all of that is being taken away from them, which means suicide rates amongst the trans community will probably start skyrocketing now because they are outlawing medical care. And then you're trying to arrest the doctors who are trying to provide this care. Like I said before in the debate, trans kids are not out here having surgery. There is a process when it comes to a trans child wanting to transition. There is a mental process, there is an emotional process, there's a physical process. And ironically, conservatives tend to forget that talking point
or
when they're trying to make their stuff. Yeah.
Did you know that more people actually regret knee surgery than transition?
Isn't that something?
Like, there are back surgeries. There is multiple risks that you take in life in general.
Yeah.
That's just part of being alive. And the way that they've equated this, and on top of it, with the attack on the education system, I mean, Trump literally has said two things. He wants to get rid of the education system.
Yes.
And he wants to enact the, 1778 enemies within.
Yeah. Before we go to that,
yeah,
go back to the trans thing, because the thing is, I look on social media and I don't have a problem with other trans people criticizing Kamala, because let me tell you something. Back in 2019, I went on live national television and I protested the presidential debate, and Kamala was there.
Yeah.
And for me, it was not about fame. It was because I had something passionate in my soul that needed to be said. You know, the erasure of Black trans women was important to talk about. And so when other trans people want to talk about what's happening with Palestine, what's happening in other issues, I understand that because those are issues that they're passionate about. What I can't understand is we need to stop attacking each other and attack this political system that is put into place. It puts us in a political chokehold each and every time because, truth be told, both of these candidates would have to evolve around trans issues, number one. Number two, y'all are wanting to withhold your vote because of what's happening in Palestine. And the thing is, we're going to end up with Donald Trump if you don't go show up and vote. And I'm talking to all trans people. Yeah. You can have your differences and your criticism of Kamala Harris. You can have that and still show up to the polls and go vote. Because if you end up with a Donald Trump presidency, it's going to be 10,000 times more worse for you. And I think there are some trans influencers out there with such powerful, large platforms. And Shane, sometimes I wish I had that platform because I would use it responsibly.
Yeah.
I think there's an entitlement in the trans community that we need to start talking about.
I agree.
How some of these trans influencers
Some of them are
say
just there to protect their brand.
They can say what they want to say. They can go not show up in the at the polls and vote, and it doesn't affect them because they have money.
Or
they
live
have
in a blue
access
state.
to health care. They
Yeah.
have access to all of these things.
Yeah.
And for me, the typical trans person who doesn't have the large platform or whatever,
Lives
they're
in a
going to
red
be
state.
suffering.
Lives, with no health care, lives with
Yeah.
a minimum wage job and is working the best that they can. I mean, I'm really happy you brought up this conversation too, because like with what happened with Chaperone, you're like, I don't know if you saw
Who
her
was
whole-
that?
Chaperone?
Child, tell me who.
HOTTO to go. Come on, you don't know who Blossom C. Brown. You're about to get it in the comments, girl. They're gonna read you for real.
Well, you know they do that anyway.
Listen, first of all, big fan of Chaperone. Please, 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 if you want to come on our podcast, just email us, find a way to contact us, and we will have you on 100%.
I would love to meet you. I'm just saying.
First of all, her music is amazing. And
Okay.
it's crazy because I didn't think I would relate to her music, but the way that she writes as, a queer woman, and she just played in Austin, largest crowd, right? And you look at it and you're just like, oh my God, I haven't seen this since like Michael Jackson. That many people show up for an artist.
Really?
It is so amazing to see so
I
many
have to see a
people
picture
support.
of her.
Oh, you look it up, trust. And I'm sure other people in the comments are going to remind you and be like, Blossom, you don't know who that is?
Yeah.
Anyways, back to her political point. So she took a huge hit recently because she was like, I don't like my choices. I don't like the situation. I don't like what's going on in Gaza. I don't like what's going on Trump's side. But she still said, I am still going to vote for Kamala Harris.
I love
right?
that.
And we as queer people have to understand that there's no such thing as a perfect candidate, as much as we wish that there was. Because like you said, the system was not built for us, and we have to build within the system that we have. And if we want to tear it down and create a new system, we should be not doing that every 4 years. We should be doing the work throughout the other 3 years and stop waiting for that last year for things like Jill Stein to come in and people to create that whole conversation about the third party. Like if we're going to do a third party candidate, then where are you the other 3 years doing that campaign groundwork? And that's where we as a community, I think, need to come together and understand, because from what I see, you and I go on Jubilee. We've got new episodes coming out, to 2 separate episodes. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, they brought us back. Yeah. Yes, they did.
At the time of this episode,
mine should be premiered.
Yours is going to
premiere.
premiere.
So I can say mine.
And part 1 of mine will premiere, and part 2 will premiere the day after this episode comes out. So a lot of y'all are not going to like what I have to say.
And a lot of y'all are going to be shocked at what and who I spoke with. But you know what?
I can't wait to see yours, so I'm excited.
But even with the Jubilee space, the one thing that I really appreciate about you is that you are willing, just like me, to go talk to the other side and actually have a conversation with the other side. Because sometimes what I'm afraid is that we are just speaking to our own people that are already going to vote for, blue across the board. And we're not actually trying to have the conversation with the other side, because I got to be real with you. I don't think Republicans or conservatives are dumb. I really don't. I've really taken a look at what Donald Trump has done. And to me, from my personal opinion, it looks like he conned them. He found a way.
Well, there's a difference between conservatives and Trump supporters.
I mean, the whole package as a whole, even just anyone that is going to get his vote has been conned into voting for him in one shape or way or the other, because that's why he, constantly is on one side of the issue, on the other side of the issue. There's no consistency there. He's talking about Arnold Palmer's genitals. It's like, what's going on? And it's almost like he doesn't want to win the election this time too. Like he's been canceling debates. He's dancing on stage for 30 minutes. He's doing all of these things, and still there's people that are willing to vote for him. And we have to really have the real conversation about how much do you actually hate women? Yeah. Because that's what it really, truly, it feels like it's coming down to, because this man is completely not qualified. And again, Kamala has her issues, but she's also been Madam Vice President.
She could be worked on.
She's been AG. And yes, there was even the lies about, the black men that she locked up when it actually was like
who sued Donald Trump for defamation, by the way.
Yeah, because she
Central Park
actually
5.
didn't like the situation for marijuana in California. Like she was technically the AG at the time overseeing the entire project. And there were some things that got through that she may not have been privy to, or maybe not even had the full control over. These were other people that were dealing with those cases, but then she was made responsible for that. There's been so many lies about her. And again, there's also some truths about her too, that the way that she answered that trans comment, hopefully maybe even if her team sees this, they can do a little bit better if they want to reach out to her. Let's invite Kamala.
I think, and you know what though? And again, I'm not mad at my trans siblings who criticize her. That's not the thing.
No.
I'm just letting you know she is better to be worked on than Donald Trump. 100%. And let's also be clear. There's she's malleable to a sense.
Yeah.
And the reason why I say there's a difference between conservatives and Trump supporters is over 200 Republicans are supporting Kamala, including Liz and Dick Cheney. And I think with Trump supporters, Trump is able to radicalize them a lot more. And I think a lot of people are taking a different approach this time into Kamala because Kamala was a secret weapon they weren't expecting.
Yeah.
They were expecting Joe Biden to somehow, some way finish off this whole thing and we will vote between Donald Trump and Joe Biden.
Yeah.
Kamala was the secret weapon that nobody saw coming. And for me, I think it's important that a woman takes the lead. I think it's important that someone who's a little bit younger and much more experienced, especially as a prosecutor, be able to take the reins of that. And Shane,
I've seen women run households, so I'm ready for it.
I love your point that you said about, women running the household and everything, but there's also a lot of men that are having to step up and do that as well too. And women are now having to be more in the job force.
Yeah.
And having to make that money. Like we're in different times now. Yeah. And it's so important that we give everyone their flowers. And, to my trans community, I love y'all so much. You're my siblings, but we have to show up and vote. I know you are unsatisfied with the issues at hand.
We all are.
Listen to you. And I don't want to police people because going back to my disruption of the debate that I disrupted or whatever, I know what it's like to have a passionate feeling over issues that are so important to you. I know what it feels like. But if you're not going to show up and vote, you are making unnecessary noise and you need to step out the way and move and just do what you need to do over here. And let the rest of us work to get Kamala in office. Let the rest of the trans and non-binary people who don't want their rights taken away be able to put Kamala in that office so we can hold her accountable. Yeah. This is the thing. I have never said that she could not be held accountable. I never said she was above accountability.
And I'm not saying she's perfect.
I would love my trans siblings to hold her accountable.
Yes.
But you better show up and vote her in so you can
so you have the
hold her
opportunity
accountable
in the future.
Exactly.
Because, again, remember, the things that Trump is threatening, this is the last election there will be.
Correct.
And let's actually take people for what they're saying when it comes to these threats to our constitutional democracy as Americans.
Yes.
Because again, our community, it's hard to say I'm proud to see the American flag, even with as much white privilege as I have and access, because I've experienced so much, as you know, through the system. But there's still some weird part of me that still has hope in the alleged American dream that was imprinted on us as children, that we can still, because we're kids of the 90s, there was that one little period in the 90s where everybody was melting pot and mixing together, and there was tie-dye shirts, and it was a really cute moment. And I know that we can get to a point where we as a society can actually focus on what's important, like the crumbling infrastructure that's going on, the economic issues, the fact of, when I go to the grocery store now, something that used to cost me $30 is costing me $70. Those are the things that are not just impacting trans people, but impacting our entire country. And I think I'm really tired of trans people as being used as a distraction.
Correct.
When these politicians need to be focusing on what is really important. And, just to end it on a light note too, Solomon, do you have that balloon popping video for
Yeah, I finally found it.
Okay,
yeah, so
cool.
Because
I wanted to get that in there. Because again, I just want to give another shout out to Kamala HQ for making a shift. Because I think we as Democrats kind of need to show up with a little bit more yeehaw.
And support trans people, by the way.
It's good to be here.
Check this out.
How much do you make?
I work in finance, making six figures.
How tall are you?
6'5".
Do you have a plan to vote in November?
Nah, not my thing.
Pop the Balloon and Find Love. One of my favorite shows. I love it. I wish there was a trans version of that. I cannot wait for that to happen.
We could probably even make that here if we wanted to.
Yeah.
You know,
I want to go back to something that you said as we're wrapping up. You talked about the American dream, and this is why I love you, because you always talk about your white privilege and you understand your white access. And I wish a lot more of our white trans siblings in particular, instead of using the whole situation in Gaza to be anti-Black.
It's real, yeah.
To be anti-Black, finding an excuse to be anti-Black and misogynistic or whatnot. I think they should be listening more to you. But let's be clear. The American dream has never been that great for Black, brown, indigenous people.
Yeah.
It's just never been that way.
Yeah.
You know, we're the people who built this country. This country was built on the back of slaves. Yeah. And the reality of it is Donald Trump is trying to erase that history. He's literally trying to wipe out the education system.
Yeah.
And the harm and the hurt that has happened to our country for so long. But I think Kamala wants to heal it. Kamala said she will have a Republican in her administration. Kamala wants to be the healer. Kamala wants to unite us. Yeah. Kamala wants to care about everybody's issues.
Yeah.
Now, you have to remember, she's only one person and she's only human. She's going to make mistakes. And I encourage trans people to continue to voice their opinions. You know what I mean? I don't want to police any of that, but I just want you to show up and vote. Vote. The trans vote matters.
Yeah.
And the thing is, and the part
Let's become a demographic on paper too. Yeah. That's the thing, is because there is a large, if we as trans people actually were able to get behind a candidate, just one candidate, and just organize, do you not understand the economic impact and power we would actually be able to collectively have as a community and build on that in the same way many other communities have been able to come together? And I feel like we as trans people, it's finally time for us to really show up and participate. And I know that there's a lot of barriers too. We got to understand there's people that may not have access to a phone, may not have access, because that's the thing about our community.
Absolutely.
And I feel like why we get targeted so much is because we have so little resources to protect ourselves. It's like the easy person. It's the easy kid in class to pick on for the bullies. And I'm tired of being bullied by people that have no interest other than creating false lies to multiple communities. Because Blossom, this is also coming for interracial marriage too. This is
absolutely.
You just saw what happened
marriage
in Tennessee.
Equality, everything,
Tennessee right now, just a couple days ago, they're now talking about interfaith, interracial marriage. So when we as trans people have been telling you, and when Black and brown women have been telling you, and when many of these different communities have been telling you that they are coming for you in the same way they are coming for cis women, they are coming for they're coming for white men too. Project 2025.
Yes.
They're taking away porn and video games.
What?
Yes, they're going for everyone. Everyone is going to be affected by this, and we need to understand the severity of it and stop playing the political games that we are and actually look up what's actually happening and the actual effects to our Constitution as Americans. And that's where I feel.
On that note, we're going to close out here. You get the last word today. Make sure you hit the subscribe button down below so that way you know when we post new videos like so. This has been an insightful conversation. We need to continue this as we get ready to go into Election Day. Make sure you go out and vote, please. Vote.
And one more thing. Don't forget, by the way, I debated Ben Shapiro, and we're going to do an episode on that.
Yay!
So, you probably already have seen the episode. It is going to air tomorrow, so I haven't seen it yet. So I want to get a reaction video. Plus, Blossom's got a debate as well that she's coming on because we were both invited back to Jubilee. Yeah. So stay tuned for more. We might even get some of the guests from both of the episodes to come on our couch so we can do a recap again because we know you guys love that. But Blossom, this has been an amazing conversation as always.
I love you down.
I love you too.
Love you down. And we love you more. So take a little time to enjoy the Transparency Podcast Show. We'll see you next time.